Have you ever stopped to think about that voice in your head? The one that comments, criticizes, judges. The voice that tells you what to do, or sometimes what not to do. We accompany it all the time, so much that we assume it is us. But what if I told you that this mental chatter, this constant narrative, isn't actually you? Think about this. From the moment you wake up, your mind starts talking. Get up. You have a lot to do today. Why did you say that yesterday? You should have tried harder. It's a constant dialogue, a background noise that, even if you ignore it, rarely stops. Now then, have you ever wondered who is listening? If you are the one talking, then who is listening? Let me take you to a disquieting place. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a space completely silent. No thoughts, no judgments, no words. It's just you in that pure space without mental noise. Who are you there? Where is that internal chatter that seems to have so much control over your life? There's something many don't want to face. That voice, that mental chatter. It's not the essence of who we truly are. It's just an echo, a construct, a reflection shaped by years of experiences, fears, and expectations. But we, the ones behind that voice, are something much deeper, more mysterious. Now pay attention to this. When you feel anxious, what really weighs on you? It's not the event itself, but the interpretation your mind gives it. That voice magnifies the consequences. It repeats to you over and over, "This will be a disaster." And here's the terrifying revelation. That voice isn't trying to help you. It's trying to control you. It's the filter through which you experience reality. And most of the time, that filter is distorted. Let me tell you something fascinating. Neuroscientists have discovered that most of our thoughts aren't conscious. They're automatic. It's as if your mind is a program running in the background, repeating patterns and beliefs you didn't even choose. That mental chatter is a habit, not your true self. But there's something even more unsettling. That inner dialogue can be your worst enemy, or your most powerful ally. It all depends on whether you choose to identify with it or not, because the real trap lies in believing that voice is all you are, when, in reality, you are much more. You are the observer, the silent witness behind that constant chatter. Think about the moments when you've suffered the most. Isn't it true that much of the pain came from the thoughts that arose? Thoughts like, "This will never get better. I'm not enough." That mental chatter creates stories. And those stories shape how you see the world and how you see yourself. But here's the key. You are not those stories. Ancient cultures understood this secret centuries ago. In Buddhism, for example, it is taught that suffering arises from attachment to those thoughts. Meditation, a millennial practice, is simply an exercise to observe that internal chatter and learn not to identify with it. Because the moment you stop reacting to every thought that arises, you become free. But you don't need to be a monk to experience this freedom. You just need to pause and observe. The next time a negative thought arises, stop. Ask yourself, is this real, or is it just my mind playing tricks on me? By doing this, you start to break the spell, to dismantle the illusion that your mental chatter is the entirety of who you are. I want you to remember something. You are not the voice. You are the one who listens. And the moment you manage to step away from it, you begin to regain control of your life. Because the real magic happens when you stop being trapped in the stories you tell yourself and start living from a deeper, more authentic place. Throughout this video, we're going to explore how mental chatter takes control, how it distorts our perception, and most importantly, how we can free ourselves from it. Because the first step to reclaiming your power is realizing that voice is not you. And when you manage to do that, you'll discover a world of possibilities. Are you ready for this journey into the unknown? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, not only will you have learned to identify the voice of your mind, but you'll also understand how to reconnect with your true self. And believe me, what you'll find in that silence is much greater than you could ever imagine. The real mystery isn't in the stars, nor in the deepest oceans. It's in our own mind, in that voice that never stops, that narrates, judges, compares, remembers, and plans. But tell me, have you ever wondered where it comes from? Why does it sometimes seem to sabotage you? Or worse, why does it seem to know you better than you know yourself? I'm going to reveal something that could change the way you see life. That mental chatter, which sounds so familiar, is not you, but it's been with you for so long that you've started to believe it. Isn't that unsettling? It's like you've been living with a stranger inside you. Someone who speaks with your voice, who uses your memories and desires, but deep down is nothing more than an imposter. Imagine you're in a conversation with a friend. This friend never stops talking. They tell you what you did wrong yesterday, what you could do better tomorrow, and make sure to remind you of every time you failed in the past. How long could you endure it before getting tired? Now, think that this same voice lives in your head. And the worst part is that you listen to it without questioning, as if everything it says were the absolute truth. But here's the secret. That voice has no real power, unless you give it to it. Every time you accept its criticism, every time you get lost in its worries or fears, you give it strength. However, there is a way out. You can learn to observe it, to dismantle it, and finally, to silence it. Let me tell you a story. It's about a woman named Anna. Anna had an apparently perfect life. A good job, friends, a family who loved her. But every night, when she went to bed, that voice appeared. It whispered her insecurities, reminded her of her mistakes. "You're not enough," it said. "You never will be." And Anna believed it. That voice controlled her, stole her peace, and kept her trapped in a cycle of doubt and self-criticism. One day, Anna decided she couldn't live like that anymore. She started to investigate, to search for answers. And that's when she discovered something that changed everything. She was not that voice. She understood that the mental chatter was like a computer program running on autopilot, fueled by years of limiting beliefs and past experiences. But by realizing this, something inside her changed. She began to observe the voice instead of reacting to it. And over time, that voice lost its power. Anna's case is not unique. We all have an inner voice, one that can be our harshest critic or our greatest ally. But the trick is learning to distance ourselves from it, because the more space you give that voice, the less room there is for your true self, the one who is at peace, the one who knows what is right, without needing to be told. Now, I want you to do an exercise with me. The next time a negative thought arises in your mind, stop. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just observe it, as if you were a spectator watching a movie. Ask yourself, where does this thought come from? Is it really mine? Or is it just an echo from the past? You'll be surprised by what you discover. Many times, these thoughts don't even make sense. They're like leaves carried by the wind, useless, fleeting. The key to freeing yourself from this mental chatter isn't in fighting it. It's in stopping your identification with it. Because when you manage to separate yourself from that voice, you realize that you are much more than your thoughts. You are the space in which those thoughts arise. And in that space, there is freedom. Think about this. If that voice really were you, you wouldn't be able to observe it. You wouldn't be able to question it. But you do, don't you? That is the ultimate proof that you are the observer, not the observed. And that simple shift in perspective has the power to transform your life. So, who are you really? That's the question that has brought us here. And now, after this journey through the shadows of your mind, I hope you've begun to understand something fundamental. You are not that mental chatter. You are much more than that voice telling you who you should be, what you did wrong, or what you should fear. You are the space where that voice arises. You are the silent observer who, despite the constant noise, is always present. Imagine for a moment what it would be like to live without letting that voice control your emotions, your decisions, your life. Do you realize the weight you could let go of? It wouldn't be the end of your thoughts, because thinking is natural, but it would be the end of the control those thoughts have over you. I want you to remember something powerful. You don't have to believe everything you think, because you are not the sum of your thoughts. You are the consciousness that observes them. And that consciousness is free. It always has been. It was just waiting for you to realize it. From now on, every time that voice whispers something that makes you doubt yourself, something that awakens your fears or makes you feel small, stop, breathe, and say out loud, I am not that voice, I am the one who listens to it. Because that simple act of detachment will give you back a power you may not have realized you had lost. Mental chatter is like the narrator of a book. It can tell the story of your life in many ways. It can make everything seem like a tragic drama or an epic adventure. But you are the author. You decide whether to let that voice enslave you or to take control of the narrative. So now that we have reached the end of this journey, I want to leave you with a reflection. The next time you find yourself trapped in your thoughts, ask yourself, who is listening? That question, though simple, has the power to pull you out of the mental trance in which so many of us live. And little by little, you will start to see life in a completely different way. Before we say goodbye, I want to ask you a thought-provoking question. One that I would like you to answer in the comments. If that voice isn't you, then who are you really? I want you to leave that answer down here in the comments. It doesn't matter if it's brief or extensive, because this space is a community of seekers, people like you who are exploring the deepest corners of the human mind. And if this journey has resonated with you, if it has made you reflect or at least question something you once took for granted, subscribe. This channel is a haven for restless minds, for those who seek answers beyond the surface. And don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss the upcoming videos, because what lies ahead will be even deeper and more transformative. And to wrap up, if you want to take a small task from this video, do this. When a negative thought catches you, stop, smile, and say, "Thank you for your opinion, but I don't need it." That simple phrase is like a key that can open the door to mental freedom. Remember, the abyss of your thoughts doesn't define you. You are the one who decides whether to stay on the edge or take a step towards freedom.